guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's again Lerato, and today I am back again with another dating and marriage video. And today I will be talking to you about the 7 philosophies that keeps our marriage strong. Just a disclaimer before I begin, this does not necessarily mean that I have a perfect marriage. I'll be lying if I say that I have a perfect marriage, but I can say that I have the best marriage I could have, and that is mainly because there were things that we really had to make a resolution. There are things that we had to really resolve to stick into and reminding ourselves of, so that we can really build a long-lasting marriage. So the first thing on the list, of course, is to have a personal relationship with God. Oftentimes I realize that before, when we are single, it's very easy to stick to a relationship with God, stick to your prayer routine, all this type of things that we do in order to keep our prayer life and our relationship with God going. And then when you get into marriage, it becomes easy really to be consumed by a lot of things, as well as your spouse, such that that time with God becomes a little bit less than it used to be before. And that does not necessarily mean that marriage should really change how your relationship with God was. Yes, it does mean that oftentimes we will end up just reminding ourselves of having a quiet time together and praying together or reading the word of God together. But it is very important to also have and maintain your own personal relationship with God, because that is when God will convict you. I find that most of the times when I study the word with my husband, or when we have a Bible discussion, or whatever that relates to a relationship with God together, it's mainly God building us, when it comes to us working together, and doing what God has called us to do together. But then when I have my own personal time with God, God begins to search me and He begins to reveal things to me. That's where I get convicted about things that I have to change, and I get built on things that I should be doing, either as a wife or as a daughter of God, and generally as an individual. Because yes, we become one. We become one in our vision. We become one, in whatever we do. But then we cannot be one if we ourselves are not whole. We are not made whole by God. The second thing that we learned, I'm going to say we, because these are things that we discussed with my husband. These are things, even the list I compiled here, I compiled it with him. So yeah, that is why I'm going to keep on saying we. Yeah, so this second thing, we learned it before marriage, and I think we're still at varsity. I was doing my final year and he was doing his postgraduate degree at the time. And what we used to do, we used to watch videos together, and there was this couple I'm not going to mention, and they were talking about what keeps their marriage strong. So we were doing this because we knew we were going to be married one day, and we wanted to really build a strong marriage. We knew that there are some people who go into marriage and divorce a year later, or even less than that, and we didn't want that. So we had to really give ourselves time to learn and grow, and grow together. So what this couple said, they said that they went through fights. They would fight each other, in their first 5 years of marriage, until they really learned that, my partner is not my enemy. And that's something that we took into our marriage, that we resolved to remind ourselves of, because it's very easy during arguments. I don't want to lie. There are times where I felt like, oh, maybe my husband hates me, and there are times that probably he felt the same way too. And especially when you get in an argument or you disagree, it tends to be like, you are against each other. But then it's important to always remind yourself of the fact that your partner is not your enemy. It may look like they're your enemy, but they're really not. Promise you both want the same thing. Both partners within the marriage, they are all looking forward to building a long-lasting marriage. I don't know of other people out there, especially when it comes to their reason why they're getting married, but most of the times, we don't go to the altar thinking of, okay, when this happens, I'm going to divorce. I want to divorce after this number of years. So we're all looking forward to the same thing, to building a strong marriage. So it's important to always remind ourselves, and this is what I always remind myself: my partner is not my enemy, and the third thing, which is a resolution we made before marriage, and it had to be tested in marriage, was no sleeping in separate rooms. We had told ourselves that I had told myself that I'm not going to chase my husband out of the room. Of course, that got tested at some point. But then what I love is that what Charmy does is that even if I would chase him out of the room and I would just tell him not to come and sleep with us, me and my son, because we spent most part of our early stages of parenting with our son, in our bed. So I would tell him not to join us, and then in the middle of the night when I wake up, he's in the bed, and and most of the times he's already been cuddling with me. So that is so helpful, and I'm very grateful that he does that. He does not follow everything that I say all the time. So that's good, because sleeping in separate rooms, it keeps the disagreement fresh, and it keeps the anger strong in the marriage. But then, if regardless of what we disagreed about, how we feel, if we maintain sleeping in the same bed, there's something about sleeping next to each other that just keeps the, what we call the soul tie. Because, when you're married, you form a soul tie, you form a spirit tie. So that keeps that bond strong. It keeps it fresh, such that it becomes easy to forgive each other. And most of the times, the following morning, I find that we'll end up even laughing about the things we argued about, and we end up even finding solutions to that, and talking more calmly and kindly to each other. So that is very important. And the fourth one is our marriage before family. I know that this is a sensitive topic, especially for many people out there, but really, if you really are looking forward to building a marriage, this is something that you have to face. This is something that one has to really, really, really drill it in their mind, to say, what, I'm about to start a family, and I'm about to, make this person the most important person in my life, of course, after Christ. So it's very important, really, to fix your mind on this, to say, my marriage before my family. I mean, the Bible does say it, that therefore for this reason a man shall leave his mother and father and shall cling to his wife. But that doesn't mean the wife will remain clinging to the parents as well. If the husband is clinging to you, you are also clinging to him. This is more easier in families that end up accepting the relationship, because I find that most of the times, for me, for example, in particular, my mother, before she can ask for something, she always acknowledges my husband. Before she can suggest anything, she always wants to find out, what is my husband saying, what is he thinking about this, so that becomes easier. But I believe that that's not because it happened automatically. For me, when I met my husband, and when we knew that we're going to end up being married to each other, this is what God has called us to do. I introduced my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, to my mother, and they began to see that this is somebody important in my life. So I believe that with family, once they can see and realize that the person that you are married to is important to you, and that you value that person, they will also be forced to value the same person. Because I mean, family most of the times respond to what we put out there to them. If we give them the idea that I can disregard whatever that my partner says, and you can come and control my marriage, they will do that. But if you show them what you value, if you show them that you are willing to stand by your partner, then they don't have any choice but to really also align. That does not mean that we do not really interact with our family. We still interact with our family. We still, we still get to see them. We get to to do things with them. But the main thing that they all know and that we also know is that my marriage comes first. And that is something that you really have to fix your mind on if you want to build a strong and long-lasting marriage. The only person that has to really direct what happens in your marriage is God. He's the one who can come and interrupt and disrupt. But what God does, though, he does not do that by turning spouses against each other. When God comes and he has a vision that he wants to plant within the marriage, he works on both of us. But then it's the same thing that we have to really tell ourselves, to say, whoever that comes into our marriage, whoever that has a say in our marriage, then it shouldn't be somebody who wants to turn each other against, who wants to turn us against each other, but rather somebody who is willing to build, somebody who understands how much this union means to both of us. And one thing that I want to mention that my husband actually added to this topic was that, our past families, which is where we come from, are more stable than the new family we are building. And that's true, because we come from, relationships and marriages or families that have been built for years, and then this is a baby thing that we are starting. It's a marriage that is fresh, it's starting. So it needs investment, it needs dedication for it to stand strong, and we're going to have to devote ourselves to that and devote ourselves to building with God, because marriage is started by God. Marriage is from God, and when God is building, we have to build with him. We cannot be pulling somewhere else and be introducing another voice when God wants to build with us. And the fifth thing is keeping a balance between spending time with our son and each other. Well, before having a child, this was not a difficult thing to do because it was just the two of us, so we could automatically just spend time with each other. But then after having a baby, I think me in particular, I'm the person who was more attached to to our son, and it makes sense because it was the first time I had been a mom, and you see this precious little person and all that, so I wanted to protect him with all my mind, with all that I have. And I had to really sometimes remind myself that it's important to strike a balance. It was really challenging because I didn't have help. When you have a newborn, you can't always just abandon your baby aside just so that you can spend time with your husband and so forth. So what we used to do before having help was that we would do things together. We practically raised our son together. We collaborated together when it comes to either taking care of his day-to-day needs, going out with him, and all those type of things. We really did our best to try and do most of the things, especially parenting together, so that in so doing we're able to spend time together as well. But then the other thing that we recently did is that obviously right now I have my sister is living with me, who is schooling online, so her presence being here, she's able to spend some time with my son. She's able to take him for walks and so forth while we get to spend our time together, and that is very important. That is very important to marriage, and to bring back the spark in marriage. And the sixth thing is allowing each other to dream and grow as individuals. It's very, very important that as a couple you remind yourself that you still have to grow individually so that you can be strong for your marriage. It's important to allow your partner to dream. One thing we've realized is that for me and my husband, we have the same goals, we have the same vision for our marriage, but that does not necessarily mean that we have the same way in which we want to end up reaching there. So, and we have realized that in these differences that we have, that is how God has made us to be, so that while I cover the other aspect, he covers the other aspect, and together we get to work towards this one vision and make it stand. And that also includes building different connections. We won't always have the same people that we interact with, or the same friends, or same colleagues and so forth. So we have to really allow each other to build different connections so that we can grow and we can learn from all these different relationships we have, in our work environment, in our day-to-day life. It's very important, and I'm so happy that even right now I'm studying something different from what my husband is studying, and I'm doing something different from what he's doing. But when we bring these things together, we realize that this is what God has given us so that we can achieve that vision that we're working towards. And one last point, which is a resolution that we have recently come up with, is that we plan to travel more and build memories together. We had our child in our first year of marriage, and that prevented us from doing a lot of things that we wanted to do, and we really had to learn to adjust and still be able to have fun with each other while we are parents at the same time. And I feel that we are at that stage where we have really mastered this, at least this part of our life. And yeah, we plan to grow, we plan to build memories, because it's very important. We did that last year, December, and wow, that was so refreshing. I mean, after that, our marriage was just on another level, and it's really very evident that if we keep on doing this, then definitely the more memories we build together, the more we go out there together, the more we won't have regrets, especially knowing that one day God will have to take one of us or both of us. So we really want to make sure that we've built enough memories with each other, and also enough memories as well for our son. That's all from me today. See you on the next one. Bye.